Living the good fat life with your host Karen and Sherri. They'll help everything align for your body, soul, and mind. The good fat life, whether change comes slow or dramatically. The good fat life will help you sort things out organically.
That makes me laugh every time. I can hear it over and over again. Hey, Sherri, happy Thursday.
Hey, yeah, happy Thursday. It's happy Earth Day. And it's my granddaughter's first birthday.
Oh, fantastic.
It's like a special day. Yeah.
Is that why you're on the road? Where are you headed to, Sherri?
To Texas.
Is that for your granddaughter's birthday?
Yep, for her first birthday.
Wow, how exciting.
It's great. Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Fantastic.
Sorry,
well, you know what else is
over.
great? We have a fantastic guest here today. I'm super excited. We have an integrative health specialist today. I might have messed that up, Angela. It's Angela Moore. I apologize. And I'm super excited. We love her so much. We have worked with her a couple times now, and I just am so pleased to have her here today. So Angela, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, it's my pleasure and honor.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, it's an integrative health expert. Thank you. And many, many more things. Yeah. I think now we can also call her friend, which I'm really happy about. So thank you for being here with us.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's truly an honor and a pleasure to be here.
Of course. Yeah. So we have
my gosh.
Oh, go ahead, Grace.
Well, and Angela, I have got to tell you that since I started, and I hate to admit this, but since I started eating breakfast, I'm sleeping better.
That's funny.
So we'll go into a little more detail about that in a little later, but yeah.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Sherri, because I want to talk about, so Angela, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do? And then we'll go into how you've worked with Sherri and how you work with other people, if you don't mind.
Okay, yeah, sure. So just to clarify, the reason why I kind of title myself Integrative Health Expert is because I am a licensed therapist. I'm also an AM master trainer and fitness nutrition specialist. And so I found that way, saying integrative incorporates all that. And you may have noticed that one of the things that I often am called, and I've had correctly, is a life coach. And that I'm not. I don't want to. I want to make sure I clarify that, and not that I'm not necessarily it's not that I can't help you with your life as a coach, but truly as a therapist, the work that I do is definitely more comprehensive than a life coach. I've gone through thousands of hours of training. Mm-hmm. I have a master's in counseling. I've worked really, really hard to acquire the expertise, the education, and just the experience to work with many different people of different populations. And so what I do basically is whether I can take an individual or a small group, and I provide what I call integrative health services. So that's mental health counseling, that's nutrition coaching. It can also be individual and small group fitness programming, meaning a small group training in terms of whether it's actual individual workouts or group workouts, programming. In a sense, I may create a 4-week program for you, an 8-week program for you, 12-week program, or so on. Mm-hmm.
Well, speaking of programs, Sherri, you went to Angela and used her services, right? Can you tell us about that?
Right. So a couple things. So I get I get the therapy part. It really does make it, because it's all part of we're a whole being, right? And so if you just deal on the one piece, you have it makes it really hard to be successful. I really think. I'm often called a money therapist and I don't have the counseling behind what you do, Angela, but I find that the mental and what we think has a huge impact on how successful we are in making changes. Right. So that's why, I have struggled with extra pounds, and always wondered how physically fit my body is capable of being. And at this stage of my life, I'm like, I'm curious. I really want to know. And so when I first met Angela, I thought, this is a person who she could probably help me figure that out with the breadth that she brings. You're just not, and I appreciate that, because I know I've tried things in the past, just nutrition or just physical fitness, or just counseling, but none of it seemed to have worked. And so I'm thinking, if what I see with people working with their money, when you can combine those things, and then you have real success. And so yes, to Karen's question, sorry, it's kind of the long way around, but I was just really excited to see what would happen if I went to talk to Angela with all that she brings. And so it's only been 2 weeks, so I want to just preface that. But she did help me work out physical fitness. I've added weights to my world, to my in a way that I feel really I can be successful. And she said, my experience has always been that people with issues like you have aren't eating breakfast, and I don't eat breakfast. I've never liked breakfast. And I'm like, okay. She goes, will you just be open to trying it? So I'm like, okay, what the heck? I'm curious. So I do have to say, I am sleeping better. And the research all shows when you sleep better, you feel better. Right. So and she worked out a physical fitness routine for me so that I can do it 3 times a day. So, and since I sit on Zooms a lot, it really feels good. So it feels good instead of like, oh, I got to go work out. It's like, oh, I'm going to go move a little. And afterwards, I feel so much better that, my body's really enjoying it. So that's where I am right now.
Well, congratulations.
It's working, and it's working so far, and I'm full of hope.
So. Well, Angela, could you speak to how eating breakfast helps you sleep better? Is there a correlation with that, or is it is all the holistic approach? But is there something to eating eating healthy and eating 3 meals a day? Does that help your sleep?
Yeah, you know what? And honestly, I can't say that I know the scientific reason for that. I do know that, the reality of the situation is that, whenever you mindfully eat and you eat intentionally, one of the things that I always talk about is, you have to get, there's 45 essential nutrients that you have to consume to essentially be healthy. And you have a few opportunities to do that throughout the day. And so one of the things I always encourage people to think about is the foods that you should consume as opposed to the foods that you should avoid. And so when I talk with Sherri, and she was describing her individual situation, her individual experience, that was the one thing that I felt like could be the thing that would change, the thing that would be something that she could implement that I felt like could potentially lead her into a direction that she had never gone into before. And so it may not be the same with everyone, but when I talk with Sherri, based on her answers to the questions that I asked, I felt like that would be something that she could do easily, and I thought it was something that she should do. And so now the fact that it's helped her sleep, I think it's great. I would love to say I know the scientific reason for it. And one of the things I will, want to, explain, I'm not a licensed dietitian. I don't pretend to be. I always tell people I'm an excellent manipulator of food. I have a complete understanding of the impact that food has on the body because of all the years that I've trained so many different individuals. I've been training for decades. I competed in bodybuilding. I understand what it takes to get lean. I understand as an athlete what it takes to eat for optimal performance. And what I know is, when you're trying to live your day-to-day life, you have to give your body energy. And the only way you can get energy is by the consumption of nutrients. And so what are those foods that you can eat? And what are the times of the day that you need to consume those foods that are going to allow your body to work most efficiently and effectively? And for that adding the breakfast for Sherri, I thought was the best thing to do.
Well, it's kind of interesting because I just took a road trip with my kids, and I have to admit, we did the road trip snacks. It was like, 3 9-year-olds unsupervised with $100 bill in the grocery store. We just like bought a bunch of junk. So what would be something that healthy for Sherri to have for a road snack now that she's on the road?
I'm so glad you asked that question, because one of the things that I do whenever I travel, and I'll just kind of tell you like what I do. And also I think it's very great for kids. I always like to have, raw fruits and anything that you can, that doesn't need refrigeration is always great. And then also and have an abundance of that. So your oranges, your apples, your pears, things that you don't have to put in the refrigerator or in a cooler. Then you need to have those items that perhaps that you really do want to have in a cooler. So maybe those are your raw vegetables, nuts and seeds, things that you can pack in small portions. I'm a big advocate of doing portion sizes. So thinking about what are the foods that you're going to eat throughout the day, and really sectioning those out and putting them in individual portions. On the road, it's great if you already have, say, your quarter cup of almonds, your a couple tablespoons, like a little container of peanut butter that's available. And you have, like I said, the fresh fruits and vegetables. And also too, I love like things like lentil salads, anything, bean salads, things that can be refrigerated very easily and simply in little containers are great travel foods. Because the one thing about it on the road, you're not going to have good options. But I will say though too, if you ever find yourself in a situation where you haven't pre-packed or pre-planned, don't be afraid, instead of going to the fast food restaurant, to look up where the grocery stores are located, and go into the store and do some shopping. You can grab, grab fresh fruits and vegetables and nuts and seeds. You can even buy a spray you can't rinse them, but you can buy like a vegetable wash or something that can help you.
So really be organized and sort of plan it out as well. But if you can't, and when we were on the road, I also noticed there were some gas stations that did have healthier options with cut fruit and stuff, but I'm sure it was processed. But at least that some of the gas stations are trying. So I guess that's good progress, But yeah. So Sherri, you are feeling better, and can you tell us about your experience with Angela? Because I know she's so empathetic and kind,
right?
And how. And I know in the past for me, I've met with people that might have been into dietitians or life coaches or things that Angela's, way more advanced at, but you kind of feel like, wait a minute, I can never be like them. But Angela has a really great way of making you feel like we're all in this together. So I wanted you to speak to that experience.
No, she does. And I think what you said earlier too, is you asked me questions about how I live, how I eat, how I move, what my thoughts are, kind of. And that's what Karen and I talk a lot with, is that people are different. People are all different, and it's really important. And I think, at my stage of life, I know myself really well. And so I know what is going to be easy for me to do and what's going to be a challenge for me to do. And I feel like you gave me a place to start. It's like, start where we are, right? So we start where we are, and let's incorporate these few things, this movement, this food, these things are designed, these thoughts, in a way that and see what happens. But let's take a few steps. And like Angela said, she's had so much practical. I mean, she's got the education, but the real life practical experience as well, as she knows what works. And so let's just kind of start there. And that's what I love. It's like, we're going to change the whole world today. But we're going to take these steps for the next, we're going to try these few things that I felt were manageable to me. It's a stretch, but I felt like, okay, I could see myself doing this successfully. Let's try it. And then let's tweak, let's check back in. And so I send her a text once a week saying, what I did or didn't do. And then in a month, we'll cycle back and see what's working and tweak what isn't. And so, I mean, that's the only way we can be successful ultimately, right?
Yeah. And
So
Angela, do you give people the self-talk tools? Because I've noticed in my journey with health and wellness, I do a lot of negative self-talk. And I think that's so important not to do that to yourself. So do you try to give people the language around that rather than like diet or I'm fat, or do you try to give them more of a healthy framework of a vocabulary around that?
Yeah, this makes me think of a recent situation. I had a friend of mine actually, and I have given her some exercise suggestions and nutrition suggestions, but ironically, she used to be my hairstylist. And she actually lives in a different state, and she'll periodically, check in and ask me questions. And one of the things that she had mentioned in her email was, she said, I've been doing this and I'm trying to lose weight. And what I said, well, one, I said, do not exercise or try to eat well to lose weight. I said, you need to exercise and eat well because you want to be healthy. And in losing weight, it can potentially be a benefit of the fact that you made those decisions, but don't let that be the reason that you are trying to cut back on eating or trying to increase your physical activity. And so one of the things that I really truly like to do is I like to get people to not even think about trying to be a certain size or to try to start your day with this idea of perfection. I got to eat the perfect food. I got to, exercise this. Like, let's see what it is let's wake up with the mindset of health and let's try to make the healthy decisions throughout the day. And then, how you do. And then as Sherri said, over time, as you start to, you go day to day and you go through one week and then the next week and that week, before you know it, you've gone a whole month. And you know if the things that you decided to do are working, but you do definitely have to be mindful of why you're doing those things. And so I really do, just kind of going back to the reason that I started saying that, is that you really do have to think about why it is that you're trying to, to eat better and exercise, and make sure that it's not for, like, I would say, vanity reasons. It can't be because you're trying to get a certain size, and not to minimize that, But my point being is, once you achieve your goals, because if you start eating well and you start exercising and you're consistent with that, you're going to get results. But once you get the results, are you going to stop exercising? Are you going to stop eating well? No. I'm probably the healthiest I've ever been in my life, but I am that way because I consistently eat well and exercise. I will not stop that. I have made the decision that, I can be 100. I'm going to be exercising and eating well.
I love that about you. And tell us about how you came to that decision. Have you always been healthy and well? Tell us about your journey of how you became to the health and wellness industry. And you have a really interesting background. You're so brave and vulnerable, and I really think it's important for people to hear it.
Mm-hmm. I've often shared that the motivating factors for why I do what I do and why I have such a passion for helping people is because I lost my mom to a massive stroke when she was only 42 and I was 13, and it was devastating because she looked healthy, she was thin. And so that's why I'm really a big advocate of not, exercising and eat well just for the sake of being thin, because you can be thin, you can look like $1,000,000, but you can be so unhealthy. And so, and that was a very traumatic event for me, not for the simple fact that I lost my mother, but the fact that she appeared healthy. And, we had just had a conversation that night, and then I was holding her while she was having a stroke. And then years later, I lost my brother to suicide. And I had just spoken with him, weeks before. He seemed fine. And then what I learned by that is that you can be feeling okay, and then a series of events can happen that can take you from a state where you're okay to a state where you're taking your life. And so we really, really have to take our physical health, as I share about my mother, and our mental health. We really have to take that seriously. And so that truly is the motivating factor for me for why I do what I do. I don't want anyone to experience the pain that I've experienced and that I deal with each and every day. I miss my mom, my brother terribly. I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry for your loss.
And if it's something that I can do, they can help you, they can help your kids, Sherri, or your kids, Karen, not have to have that experience of seeing you be ill or seeing you not be able to be your best, or to not be able to be in such a state in your life that you're not able to deal with what's going on in your life, and that it overwhelms you, and that you decide that being here is too much for you. I never want anybody to experience that.
Yeah, thank you so much for doing that. And how have you helped yourself through your grief? Because grief is so profound and powerful. And I'm so sorry. I can just feel that your loss. Love and light to you. Can you explain that to us a little bit?
Yeah, it's funny. I would say that the healing process really is something I do each and every day. And I have really, really good days, most of the time. And then I have some days that are not so good. The one thing about whenever you experience a traumatic event, especially like I said, losing my mom like that and losing my brothers, that you have triggers, things that will, around holidays, people talk about their parents and they talk about families. And so I'll find myself really having to kind of get myself out of a really negative, mental state. But one of the things that I've recognized is that I have the power and control to do that, So when I'm feeling really bad about, sad about my mom, then I look to my children, and I try to be especially, I interact with my children. I may intentionally, and my children are grown, but I may make the phone call or say, let's get together and let's talk, or I may, invite my son over and we'll go hang out. And so that's part of that healing process. Also helping other people deal, with their grief. So talking with other people who have lost significant, people in their lives, and being able to help them, openly share the pain and the overwhelming feeling of that sometimes, and being able to say that I can honestly, empathetically understand what you're experiencing. Not that it's the same,
right?
Because you losing your mom or your brother or a special friend, it would be very different for me. Mm-hmm. But being able to give you that space of safety where you can come and you can openly express and share how bad you feel, or even your guilt for feeling good. Because that's sometimes a major thing with grief, is that we feel guilty for being able to move on, being able to have establish other healthier relationships, being able to go days where we don't think about the person and feeling guilty for that. And so, I think the greatest gift that I've been able to give people for grief is, one, because I openly share my struggles with grief, but also I've shared that healing process, and I've shared, like I said, the times when it's been really easy, and the times when it's been the most difficult, and then sometimes when it's just kind of getting by.
And I'm sure it just goes minute to minute, day by day, and it just takes on different shapes. It's different for everybody, but grief is grief, and it's something that we really don't talk about very much. So I think it's so important. So I really appreciate you being open about that, because I feel like it affects so many people's lives, marriages, families, because people don't understand each other's griefs, and there's a lot of misunderstanding, and people break up over grief. And so it's really important to talk about and be honest about grief.
And one thing I really do think I need to add is something that I think you do have to be careful, though, about grief, is you have to recognize when you settled into it too long. I think there's, a time when you definitely have to sit with it, and you have to totally, accept the feeling that you're experiencing, cry, whatever it is that you need to do to deal with it at that moment. But I think you do definitely have to recognize at times when you are intentionally grieving. And by that, what I mean, and I want to clarify, I did recognize there was a time in my life when I would intentionally make myself sad. When I would see a birthday approaching or a holiday, and I would already start putting myself in that sad mental state. And here I would have I have my wonderful husband and my beautiful kids around me. I have nothing to be sad about, but I'm intentionally making myself sad. And once I caught that I was doing that, I said, you know what, that's not healthy. You really do have to stop doing that. And it's funny because I posted about it, and I got a lot of interesting comments. Most people said, yes, they complained that. I had some other people that really did not like the fact that I said that, but I was sharing my experience. I wasn't trying to put my experience on anyone else, but I am very open about my experiences. But I think that was a very significant area of growth for me, in an area of healing that had to take place. Because, you're not doing, I realized I was really doing my, my husband and my kids a disservice by being sad because it's Christmas, because my mom's like, my mom died when I was 13. I'm 50 years old. Why are you still getting sad? I know my mom wouldn't want that, nor would my brother.
Yeah.
So I had to stop that.
I can certainly relate to that. I always see on Facebook like,
but
oh, it's
I
my
love.
mom. Go ahead. Sherri, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Karen. I'll
Oh, no,
back.
go ahead.
Oh,
no, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, but one of the things that I love about what you're saying, though, Angela, is this is a daily thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's people. I think we all kind of what Karen was bringing in is that we all get to make a choice, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a daily thing. It can be an hourly thing, and by being aware of how we're feeling or how we're thinking, we get to choose. Oh, I'm at Christmas with my husband and my children, and this is, I'm sad. I miss my mom, and I'm choosing to really celebrate and be present with all this blessing that I do have, or
Mm-hmm.
I am missing my mom. I would like to take a few moments and just be with that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm making that choice, but I'm not going to let it interfere with, other family members or whatever that is. But it's
Mm-hmm.
that awareness, and it's a constant thing. We're up and down, and we're not linear, right?
Yeah.
Right.
What I find interesting is that it truly is staying in the moment, because if you stay in the moment with all the people you love and in your life, when somebody does pass away, it's very sad and you miss them a lot more, but you don't have any regrets, and you didn't waste any of that time with them. And you had such a beautiful, memorable, tactile, ethereal time with them that it's embedded in you more if you truly stay in the moments. And you, like you said, you are doing a disservice to the people around you, because you're sort of taking them for granted that they'll always be there when you're just fretting over the future or the past or anxiety, or not spending the time with them. So it really honors the person that passed away in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. That grief is something that will wait for you. It's something you do have to process. And there's grief for everything, and grief is grief. So I feel you, and I understand grief a little bit, not in the same way you do, but I really appreciate you talking to us about that. It's something that's important to keep the conversation going.
You're very welcome. Yeah, I'm happy to.
Yeah. Well, on a lighter note, we have your daily 10 checklist will help people. And this could probably also help you through grief, right? If you're feeling down, you could probably just start to stick to the checklist. So can we go through your daily checklist here? Tell us a little bit about what it is, Angela.
Well, so basically, these are the 10 things that I would say that I do on a daily basis to help me grow, help me heal and grow.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like if you're able to do these things on a daily basis, you can start that journey for yourself.
So let's start with the first one. So Sherri, did you get this checklist at your meeting with Angela, or is this something you give out to all? No, this is okay. Yeah. All right. So we have a daily checklist. I'm just going to go down it first. It's called the Daily 10, a daily checklist for a healthier and happier life. Angela, is there a place people can get this? They can.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they just can go to daily10checklist.com.
Okay, great.
That's spelled out. Mm-hmm.
And it's right there on our screen. So the first thing is create. So it says, create a calm and stable emotional, mental state first thing in the morning with prayer and or meditation. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, it's so funny, something I say, you always have to, set your mind, for the day. And it's so funny. We don't sometimes realize the power we have to do that, because we'll wake up tired, and say if you didn't sleep well, then you're like, oh, I'm tired. And you get out of your bed and you take that kind of negative attitude into your day. And I find that if you can set aside, 5 or 10 minutes to pray if that's, if prayer is important to you, or to meditate, to create the time and space where you don't do anything. And you might have noticed I said prayer and meditation, because one of the things I think is really important is when you pray and you are speaking with God, you also have to allow time and space for God to speak to you. And so, creating that time and space where you're not doing anything, I think is really, really important. So whatever it is that you need to do when you first wake up in the morning, to kind of set your mind and either keep it in a positive state if you woke up in a positive state, or to shift it from a negative state to a positive state, I think is the most important thing you can do before you go on with your day.
Well, it's kind of like what Sherri was speaking to. You have the choice, right? You get to choose, right? Sherri, you and I both take time every morning. And what I fall short of is I tend to want to do more meditation, more things to set my intention for the day. So I'll be like, oh, I went to bed at 12 a.m. and now I got to get up at 12:45 a.m. because I have 16 things I want to do with meditation. But so there is a balance. But Sherri, how do you start your day like that? Can you hear me, Sherri?
Like you were just saying, I start. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like you. Sorry, my husband's adjusting.
That's okay.
I very intentional about setting my day. Like to Angela's point, regardless of how I wake up, before I even get up, I go through my list of gratitudes. And then it takes me an hour to get through my morning start go, but I love and treasure that time. So,
and it's so important to keep that sacred and not let anybody infringe on that unless it's absolutely necessary. So, okay. So the next one is set an achievable personal and or professional goal that can be achieved today for significant growth over time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big one.
Yeah, I think it's really, really important because, we tend to think of goals as something that has to take a long time to achieve. And it's those little short daily goals that you set. Mm-hmm. And you may have noticed that I said personal and professional, because you do want to always grow, I think, in both areas of your life. And so, for me, being a working professional, for me, it's really important that I grow personally. So that may be, setting the goal to talk longer with my son, to have a deeper conversation with my husband about something. A professional goal may be, reading an article, doing some additional resource that's going to support my growth, connecting with someone. One of the things I always love to say is you always want to surround yourself with people that know more than you and that are smarter than you. And so, really seeking someone out that knows something that you don't know, I think is really important. So connecting, with an individual like that are examples of what I would say are both personal and professional goals that can be achieved, every day.
And I think it's worth saying because in my family and also myself, I've struggled with some depression. And sometimes the goal was just get up, get dressed, like very small goals. So I think that's important too. Sometimes if you're not in the great mental state, just setting a tiny, tiny goal and accomplishing it. It doesn't have to be something big, right?
No, it doesn't. I mean, well, you may have noticed I said, just having a deeper conversation with, with my son, for example. That could be for you, like say if you're in a depressive state and it's just getting out the bed is kind of challenging. Maybe your goal would be to be able to go downstairs and look out the window and look at the beauty of a tree outside or something like that. Would be a goal that could easily be achieved that day.
Correct. Okay. So the next one is nutrition. This is one of Sherri's favorite things to talk about. So nutrition, my body with fruit or vegetable with every meal and snack to get the suggested 5 to 9 servings. That seems like a lot of fruit and vegetables. So 5 to 9 servings of fruit and vegetables, or 5 to 9 servings combined of fruit.
Yeah, of combined. Okay. And it's interesting, and Sherri and I actually talked about this. That seems very overwhelming to people. But one of the things that people don't realize, think of serving size, it's not very many. A serving size, honestly, of an apple, maybe half an apple. It's a small apple. It's a small orange. It may be it's a handful of strawberries, a handful of blueberries, a few dices of pineapple chunks. It's not very much. And if you are eating, what I recommend, 3 meals a day, 2 snacks. And again, that's just the way I recommend that you eat. It has worked for me. It works for all my clients. It's very easy to get in those 5 to 9 fruits and vegetables, because you're eating a fruit or a vegetable when you have your breakfast, when you have your snack, when you have your lunch, when you have your second snack, and when you have your dinner. And if you have a little snack before you go to bed, if you were eating, a fruit or a vegetable, with your breakfast, a fruit or vegetable with your snack, and so on, you will easily get those 7 to 9 fruits and vegetables. And most of the time, any one meal will have a combination of 2 or more servings of those vegetables. This morning, I had my tofu scramble. I eat tofu, and I had rice, cauliflower, broccoli, spinach, and potatoes. And I make like a little tofu scramble.
That sounds yummy. Yeah. So Sherri, are you getting in your vegetables? And you're a big vegetable fruit eater, aren't you?
Good. Me?
Yeah, you're a big.
No.
Oh, really?
I'm working on it. Angela is.
Working on it.
No, I mean, I'm working on it. I eat good fat. I totally eat good fat every day.
Totally.
But working on getting those fruits and vegetables in, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's a good. Speaking of good fat, don't forget to check out our magazine. Good fat. Wait, I can't. Sorry. So just a little plug. Don't forget to go to Good Fat Life, and you can click. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, that's what I was going to say. Go ahead.
Oh, so I was going to say, don't forget to check out our magazine, Good Fat Life. You can click on I don't know which way, click on the QR code, or you can text to 55678 Inspire Good Fat Life to get a digital copy. So so you're doing the vegetables and the fruit. You're trying to incorporate that, Sherri?
Yep.
That's good. Okay, so the next one is Hydrate. This one's really hard for me. I don't know why it's so hard to hydrate, but hydrate my body with water throughout the day to get the recommended 12 cups for a female and 15 cups for a male. So a cup, that's 8 ounces. Is that correct, Angela?
Well, it's funny because I'll tell you the best way to do it is, I love, like, I don't know if you see my little handy dandy water bottle here, and I'm not sure what the size is. And I knew when I first purchased it, but I will fill up like 3 of these, and 3 or 4 depending on the day or my activity level. So I will say whatever your desired intake of water that you want to, the goal that you set for that day is, fill it up ahead of time and have it available. And so, have it at your desk. And one of it's really easy ways to stay hydrated is to drink water throughout the day. It's very good for you. It's good for your brain health. It's good for your muscles. Your body is, I want to say, what is it, like 78% water. And so, to keep giving it water is really ideal. It'll help you with mental clarity. It'll help lubricate your joints, your ligaments and your tendons. It'll keep you, I think, performing really, really well. And it's also really good for your teeth too, because and it's going to help you excrete waste. And so it's going to remove the toxins out of your body. But, drinking water all day, I will keep your teeth really, really clean, because you're constantly drinking water.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I always have this joke. People are like, well, you seem so happy. I go, no, I'm sad. I just can't spare the moisture. That's why I never cry. I need to drink more water.
Yeah.
So the next one is exercise. So exercise at least 30 minutes a day, or intentionally move your body vigorously for 10 minutes, 3 to 4 times throughout the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this means, vigorously is different for everybody, correct? As long as you're doing some sort of movement is what you're looking for.
Yeah, it's something that's going to, get your heart rate up. And it, like it. So if you're able to have like a conversation like we're having right now, and you're supposed to be moving, you probably need to move a little faster. But it doesn't have to be very strenuous. It doesn't have to be high impact either. And so I would say really be mindful of what's good for your body. If you are, dealing with knee issues, or you have some, issues with your ankles or your hips or something like that that prohibits you from doing any high impact activities, doing just, squats or sit in stands where you're sitting in your chair and getting up, sitting in your chair, getting up, doing 15 of those, and then maybe doing some speed skaters, some light movement side to side where you're just kind of doing like a horizontal hop from one side, horizontal hop to the other side. Um, Doing, little exercises, as I have suggested for Sherri, weight exercises or exercise with tubes. You can pick a body part and work that, pick a series of body parts, work that, whatever you need to do to really get you moving. I say do it. And if you can't do the 30 or 45 minutes at the end of the day, at the beginning of the day, to do those 10-minute bouts of activity throughout the day. And that's extremely beneficial. And it's funny because research is really showing almost that it can be even almost more beneficial than the actual structured, 35 minutes to 40 minutes. And I think it's just because that you're stimulating, you're stimulating your metabolism, you're stimulating, all kinds of bodily functions whenever you're moving. And so I think if you're able to do that multiple times a day as opposed to just one time a day, I would think I could see why they're saying it's more beneficial.
Well, movement really is the key to life. And Sherri, how have you found, now that you're doing that exercise program that Angela recommended, how are you feeling? Do you feel like you have more momentum? How has it changed your day?
Yeah, just to what she said, I feel like at the end of the day, I'm feeling much more energized. I would get debilitating, like pain in my neck and my back. But now that I'm getting up and, so really about every 3 hours, I'm doing 10 or 15 minutes. I get up every hour, but now I'm eating more intentionally, and then doing another 10 or 15 minutes of weights and movement. My body just is feeling stronger. So
Mhm.
like I said, I'm excited about it. I'm excited
Yeah.
about what's possible. And, we've talked about this before, is that when you get those little successes just build, and then you take the next thing, right? So
Mhm.
and then you take the next thing. So who
Yeah,
knows?
definitely.
I'm curious about all that's possible, right?
Yeah, me too. I'm excited for you. And okay, so the next one is relax and rejuvenate by adding at least 10-minute break between meetings or tasks. How
Mhm.
important is this one?
I think it's extremely important. I really do. I think it's extremely important, especially during COVID. One of the things I'm hearing more and more from people, clients, and just friends and family is that we're sitting more and we're working longer, and we're working, say we're doing like Zoom meetings back to back to back, and they're not really taking breaks. And it's really really important to give your create the time and space for your body to kind of relax, to release, and then to kind of restart. And so that's one of the things why I say it's really, really important to incorporate those 10-minute, breaks. And it's funny because even as a therapist, I'm really mindful to never ever book like my clients, especially my counseling clients, back to back. I always try to even add in a even greater buffer than 10 minutes between sessions, because I want to process the session. I want to also prepare myself for the next person coming in. And I think it's important that you do that throughout the day as well. Prepare yourself for the next thing that's coming, when maybe it's a meeting with another individual, or you're going to be doing another task. Position yourself so that you're, better able to do it.
One thing that I've noticed and I've heard a lot from people is during COVID that their memory is getting worse. And I think part of it is that because we're at home and we're on Zoom, we think we have to hustle, hustle, hustle more. And we don't even take the time to congeal the information we got from the last Zoom and let it set in. We just go on to the next thing because we're like, oh, we're already home. We already might be in our comfy cozies on our pants or whatever. So we have to hustle a little bit harder. We're not giving ourselves those moments.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I can definitely see that.
And so then the next one is nurture. Nurture an important relationship by connecting in a meaningful way with someone that I care about. This
Yeah.
seems paramount, right?
Yeah.
Paramount. Yeah. And if you don't have someone, that person you care about could be yourself, correct?
Yeah. Or, it can be an opportunity to connect with someone that maybe doesn't have someone. Um, I remember being at because I think I shared with you actually prior to us getting started today that, I'm one of those people that likes to interact with people. And so that's something that I've really, really missed. But, like now that we're able to go out and venture more into like, you can go to the store as long as you're masked and everything like that. And it doesn't prohibit you from talking to someone. And I'm one of those people that I actually consciously seek out people. If I see that you're kind of over in the corner and you're by yourself, I will kind of intentionally go over and, if it's appropriate and not, not, I don't want to say creepy.
Right. How many times have you been sprayed with pepper spray? No, I'm kidding.
You crazy one. But if I feel like it's okay to have a nice conversation, I'm happy to do that. But the reason I say that thing about, a meaningful way, having lost so many significant people in my life, I know how important it is to nurture those important relationships. And if you're not careful, you take people for granted. We'll go through the day and we'll be doing things today. We're watching television, we're on our cell phones, we're on our computers, and the most important people in our lives are right there. And we don't even sometimes take the time to look up and to say something, or to really have a real deep conversation or a conversation where you're not distracted, where you're totally focused on that conversation you're having with that individual. And so I just really want to encourage people to remember the importance of doing that, really, really connecting with the people you love in a meaningful way, really nurture those relationships.
And Sherri, you and I have talked about this. It's really important to connect with all types of people and really all ages, right? I mean, it's not just... Right, Sherri? We've tried to really make a connection. Yeah. All right. So then the next. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm getting a lot of static, and so I'm thinking that maybe I might hang up while you finish that.
Okay.
Because I don't know if it's me. So, and I want to be sure that people know, Angela, this list is fabulous. It's just a fabulous thing. I want to hang it. On my refrigerator.
Please do.
And incorporate into my daily practice, the things to be mindful of. I absolutely love it. And so, Karen, you will just be sure, and we'll post it on our Facebook page as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, possibly in the magazine. We can talk about that too. Yeah. That's fantastic.
Yeah. I think that would be a great thing to do. So I'm so appreciative, Angela, of you being here. I just don't want to be creating a problem where our listeners can't hear this, because what you're saying is just so spot on.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you, guys. Okay. Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye-bye.
So then,
bye-bye.
Bye. So the next one is develop a skill, talent, or ability by reading a journal, article, book, or practicing for improvement. I think this is so important to keep expanding your mind and keep learning.
And it's funny because, if you're not careful, you will limit you. And right. I never limit yourself. You have everything that you need within you to grow, but also to do more than, and by this, I'll just say this. So one of the things that I recognize, and actually I'll share it this way. So, years ago, when I was just training, and my sole focus was just on training. And then what I recognized is that clients were actually, thanking me not for losing weight, not for eating better. They were thanking me for helping them through their divorce, helping them through this significant life, moment. And which, prompted me to go to school and get a master's in counseling. Mm-hmm. And then when I did that, what I discovered was that I was a very effective therapist. Mm-hmm. And then something that happened in my experience, like with other therapists and with the professors and just with that whole experience, and then doing an internship and working with other professionals, I started to see some other skills and talents that I didn't know I had. And then, I had the opportunity to do the radio show, and now I've had the opportunity to speak and different things like that. And I would have never thought that I could have accomplished any of those goals if I hadn't been open-minded, to it. And so I always say, daily, try to grow in some way, challenge yourself in some way. But I think will say and add to that, in doing that, you do have to look at yourself and really think about who you are, your natural instincts, talents, and abilities. And are you really maximizing everything that's you?
Right.
And, yeah.
I always tell my kids, and I always think of myself, that it's important to keep expanding your mind, because the knowledge, the information is there. And two, it's your job to be the most interesting party guest you can be, right?
I love that.
If you're bored, that means you're boring. So get interesting, That's what I would say to my kids, like, get interesting. Okay, so next, develop a skill, talent, or ability we did that already, sorry. Release the burdens and responsibilities of the day by leaving them at the door at the end of the day. That is so important, right? Because if we don't, there goes the sleep. Here comes the anxiety. Here comes the depression. Here comes all the negative self-talk, all that good stuff. So tell me how you do that.
Well, it's funny, because as a therapist, I have to. It's really, really important that I not internalize what I've discussed with the client in a session. It's really important that I'm able to leave that, in the room. It's also really important that when I do my hard stop at the end of the day, that I am fully able to be fully present with the people that are within my home, and also with myself. And so if I'm bringing, the things, my meetings, if I'm bringing my work, if I'm bringing telephone conversations, Zoom meetings, anything that I've dealt with during the day, and if I'm bringing that into the door, I think I'm doing myself a disservice, as well as the people that are in my home. And I think it's really important. I think it's healthy. I think it's essential, actually, for your health, that you're able to do that.
And it's essential that you protect that, right?
Most definitely.
Yeah. And you got to set boundaries with people, because they'll want to infringe on that. Okay. And then the next one is, accept that today is not a measure of my worth, but a day of growth towards my purpose. I love that.
Thank you.
Yeah, because I think a lot of times people get down and they think, oh, I have a bad life, but it really was just a bad moment or a bad day. And it's really the accumulation, the whole body of work of what we do, correct?
Yeah. And, and one thing I'll say with that, and good or bad, everything that happens to you is for you. And you really, really have to understand that. And also understand that, just as you want to celebrate when you've done well, when you haven't, say, done so well, and maybe you made a mistake, or you had the intention of doing something, it didn't go the way that you wanted it to, it's really important that you not feel bad about that in such a way that you feel bad about yourself. Understand that was a significant part of your growth. You were supposed to have that experience so that you could fall down and have to get back up and figure out how to be better through it. Yeah. So that's what what I mean by that. Accept that it's not a measure of your worth, but a day of growth towards your purpose.
Thank you so much for this list. It's just immeasurable. Like, it's just so valuable. I really appreciate it. I'm going to hang it up on my fridge as well. So unfortunately, I have to accept that we're nearing the end of the podcast. So one of the things we ask our guests, and you're going to be so great at this, is what is something that's somebody that's listening right now, they can just do right from where they're sitting to maybe think more about the daily checklist, or something that they can do to improve their life? What is the best little anecdote or advice you could give that they could start right now?
I would say, understand that you are enough. Truly understand that you have everything within you to be successful, and to trust in the process. And that's the simple thing I could say. It's just understand that you have everything you need to be successful, but trust in the process, and trust that it's going to take time to discover what's within you.
Right. And that trust, and that is a process, and that get curious about discovering that and have fun with it. Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. And understand you're going to fall down sometimes, and sometimes you're going to try something and totally suck at it.
Right. Mhm. Yeah.
But
Maybe 10 times over again. Yeah. Right. No, I
yeah.
totally get that. And you are more than enough and you're so successful. How can people find you?
They can go to angelatimore.com. They also, as you guys should put up my Instagram, I'm on LinkedIn and also Facebook. So just make sure you put Angela T. Moore, because there are a lot of Angela Moore. So
Right. And then tell us about your radio show.
okay, yeah, my radio show is called Empowered. It airs every Sunday from 1 to 3 p.m. on 9 Today I'm Superstation. And you can I interview medical professionals, wellness professionals, educators, activists, advocates, motivators. I interview CEOs of charities and organizations. So it's a great way to feel empowered. It's called Empowered, and it's a great way to acquire the education and resource support for living your best and empowered life, essentially.
Well, I certainly feel empowered after today. Thank you so much. And I think it's time for us to go out and live our good fat life. So thank you
Yes,
for being here, Angela Moore.
you're so welcome. Thank you.